Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the GLP-1 Hub podcast. I'm your host, Anna Reisdorf, registered dietitian and GLP-1 user. And today I am so excited to welcome a fellow GLP-1 dietitian to the podcast. Gianna Beasley is going to be here talking all about her brand new book launching tomorrow called the GLP-1 Solution, and you are going to want to get that one for sure. I have followed her for quite a long time. We have never had a conversation until this podcast, but I was so grateful she was willing to come on to promote her new book launch, and we just really jived and connected, and she has such a great story, such a great community, all the things GLP-1, and I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. Just a few quick reminders. If you need help knowing what to eat on your GLP-1 journey, I have a free 7-day meal plan that you can find in the show notes. Just grab it there. There's a plant-based one and an omnivore one. They're both high protein, low calorie. You can get that totally for free. When you download that, you will get added to my newsletter. Every week, I send a newsletter with not only updates about the podcast, but also tips for weight loss, weight maintenance, what to eat, nutrition, all the things. So you're going to want to grab that if you want to stay updated on everything going on with GLP-1 Hub, but also get some quality information from me. And finally, be sure to leave a review for the podcast if you are enjoying it. If you leave a review and send me a screenshot of your review, I will send you a recipe collection of your choice. Normally those are $9.99. And I will send it to you for free. Just let me know which one you want when you send me that email. You can email me at hello@glp-1hub.com. And that will be in the show notes as well. And so let's hear from one of our sponsors and get on to the episode. Today I want to tell you about NB Pure, the creators of MAG07. And if you haven't heard of MAG07, it is frequently discussed in the GLP-1 community because it helps relieve constipation that may happen when you're taking a GLP-1. I first learned about NB Pure and MAG07 in a dietitian group I was in, but since they sent me a sample, I have personally used it several times when things tend to get a little backed up. So needless to say, it's really worth checking out. And if you're wondering exactly what it is, it's an ozonated magnesium oxide. So basically, there's oxygen added to the magnesium oxide, which makes it go from a somewhat effective bowel flush to an amazing bowel flush. Just need to take it with water, about 8 to 12 ounces before bed on an empty stomach. And in the morning, there's going to be a much better trip to the bathroom. There's no bloating, no cramping, no urgency, and it's not habit forming. You just take it if you need it. That's how I use it personally. It can be found online at most online retailers, but if you purchase it through the NB Pure website, that's nbpure.com, and use the code GLP, the number 1 hub, GLP-1 hub, you can get 10% off your order. All right, welcome to the GLP-1 Hub podcast. I am so excited today to welcome an amazing colleague of mine. It's such an honor to have her here, Gianna Beasley, one of the OG GLP-1 dietitians. So excited. Thank you, Gianna, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here. I very rarely pop onto other people's podcasts, so it's always fun to not be the not be the host and just get to come hang out.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to start kind of from the beginning. You are a dietitian like me, and you are also on a GLP-1. So can you share how you decided to start that, how you learned about it, what your deal is with the GLP?
So yes, like you said, so I'm a registered dietitian. I'm also a certified personal trainer. I've combined both into my work because I think it's super important to have movement and nutrition together. So I wanted to be sure I could do that safely and ethically and all those good things as us as dietitians think about. But I started Manjaro in October of 2022. So very crazy to think about. I'm actually almost at my 3-year anniversary of
Wow.
being on a GLP-1 medication. And outside of a couple weeks, I had my ankle reconstructed not too long after actually starting my GLP-1 because one day all the ligaments decided to rip in half. But no worries, we're bionic now. Very cool. I have buttons. I've named them. We've made it a whole thing. But outside of a couple weeks for like surgery and then travel here and there, I have been on a GLP-1 for almost 3 full years. So, kind of led me to a GLP-1 was another dietitian actually, and I will give her a shout out. Her name is Jamie Mills. She's known as the sleeve dietitian on Instagram. She actually earlier in 2022 had started sharing about taking a GLP-1 herself. And so I started seeing it and I was like, wait a second, this actually sounds like everything she was describing is me, which is like the beautiful power of sharing things on social media is like it helps us see things that we might not normally see because I never brought it up with my doctor before, but I have PCOS. I've had PCOS for basically like 14 years now. I've been
Mm.
diagnosed coming up here. And so my freshman year of high school, I was diagnosed with PCOS. I'd always struggled with my weight and I'd always essentially struggled with insulin resistance, which is what drove my weight gain
Yeah.
consistently. Despite being, when I was first diagnosed with everything, I was a year-round athlete. I was a varsity swimmer. I was a cheerleader. I played basketball and volleyball. Like my whole life, I grew up very active. Shout out to my mom because she kept us very, very healthy with food. We always had fruits and veggies and well-balanced lunches, like things that I would tell people to do now as a dietitian, like my mom was doing 20 years ago when I
Mhm.
was 8, 9. Like she was so on top of it. We did not get soda as kids. I mean, like occasionally as a treat at a birthday party, sure, but like there was not soda in our house or juice in our house. Like, so every time we went to a doctor and they were like, well, you need to do this, this, and this, my mom just looked at them like, we already do this. Like, this isn't the problem. Something else is going on with her. And
Mm.
like, we need to keep looking into it. Is it her thyroid? Like, is it an autoimmune disease? Like, what is going on? And so, thanks to my mom, I was diagnosed a lot earlier than most people are with PCOS, and we were able to kind of figure out what was going on. But that kind of then led to a doctor giving really bad advice that like they really shouldn't have been giving of like
Mm.
eat 1,200 calories a day and like
Mm.
no carbs at all. And this advice was coming as I was swimming at the varsity level for high school. And then also I was a year-round club swimmer so that I could maintain that level of, you know, I guess athleticism is a good word.
Sure.
I am not, if you ever meet me in real life, I am not a like land sport person is a good way to put it. I am definitely much better in water. That was definitely my thing. But as I went through college, I did gain some weight in college, but honestly, that was probably the rebound weight of eating at 1,200 calories through all of high school. And then finally just I was so tired. Felt sick all the time. I was getting
Mhm.
sick all the time. Like I just was so run down because I had no energy in me that I was tired of feeling that way. So I just started eating normal meals again, like just like normal portion sizes. I wasn't restricting and I was just really focused on just like existing and like healing where I was at. So I did gain weight. It was uncomfortable at first. But then I was actually able to maintain there. And I actually got engaged in 2019. Cue being a COVID bride coming up that
Mm.
I didn't know it. It's like that social media trend of like, she doesn't know it yet, but, and like that was definitely my fate. And so I basically had maintained my weight around like 210 to 220. That was my like 10-pound fluctuation range. I had done a lot of the mental work there to be comfortable living in this body. Like, and I actually like I curated a wardrobe. I felt so cute. I honestly was living my best life. Like I had no intention of trying to lose weight because I'd finally actually like been eating at maintenance for years. I'd been like moving in ways that felt great for me. I worked out like 4 to 5 days a week. I worked at a spin studio. Like I just like I was living life. I was enjoying it. Like I got to have a really fun college experience. I healed my relationship with my body and it was great. I even like bought my wedding dress in 2019 and was able to keep that size until I actually got married 2 years later in 2021 because of everything getting delayed. And I
Yeah.
actually was not stressed about maintaining. I just maintained. And I was like, this is freedom. Like this is so nice. But then basically like in I got married end of 2021, and everything was still fine. I was sitting around, I think I was like 218 pounds when I got married. So still in my normal range. And then about January of 2022, actually, I got really sick, just kind of like caught something sick. And then from there, it just progressively got worse. And what it turned out to be is I actually activated another autoimmune disease. So
Oh,
I
no.
yeah, so I have celiac, which already was established. So I was already PCOS and celiac. I have many food, like true food allergies, but I just got sick and another autoimmune disease turned on to basically where like it looks like it's lupus. But if I'm being honest, I am not the best patient sometimes myself. And so I'm like, well, that's a problem for later on the road if I can't figure it out. And so all my other labs still look okay, but my ANA panel and everything came back very angry. And my doctor was like, oh, well, this actually is probably what's going on. But in this process, I essentially gained 30 pounds in like
Mm.
less than 4 months. But genuinely, it wasn't even that like I couldn't wear certain clothes anymore, or I was like physically in so much pain. I was so inflamed. You could see it through my face. Like when you look at photos, even like photos of me, like the first episodes I recorded of the podcast that eventually like came out the following year. Like it's so crazy to like see my face side by side, my hands side by side. Like I just like it felt I've never had, obviously when I was awake in surgery probably, but when I'm awake, I've never had someone scrape my bones with a knife. But I would imagine that's how it would feel. That's how
Oh,
I was feeling.
gosh.
I remember crying on a plane to London in March of 2022 because I was in so much pain. Every time I got on a flight, I swelled so significantly that like there were times where like I could no longer wear closed-toed shoes on planes at the beginning of 2022 because I literally wouldn't be able to get my feet back in them after the flight. I was so swollen. So I had to fly with my Birkenstocks that I could adjust the length for and like crazy things. Like and so finally that first half of 2022 was very difficult. I was in so much pain. The scale jumped so drastically that I was like, I've changed nothing. I'm eating the same. I'm trying to move the same. Like, what the heck is going on? So we figure out it's autoimmune related, and that's basically driving my insulin through the roof. Like, my PCOS is so unhappy after being well managed for years. And now, because of this additional medical condition, my PCOS is way harder to manage. And so
Sure.
that's when I broached the topic of a GLP-1 with my doctor. And she was like, honestly, I think this could be a great fit for you. I'm very thankful I have a really great doctor. And she was like, let's try it. So that's when I did my first injection in 2022. And when I say within, and also again, I had orthopedic surgery the beginning of December. So I'd only been on my GLP-1 4 weeks, basically, roughly, give or take, before I had to stop taking it to have surgery. And then I didn't take it after that because the pain meds made me so nauseous that I already
Mm.
felt like I was going to throw up all the time. And that's like my one side effect that has stayed with me throughout all the years is like, if I'm not careful, I will be nauseous and throw up. So I'm like that girl that now travels with like a little handheld fan to like keep myself cool so
Oh,
that I don't
gosh.
overheat. Like I hate being nauseous. And I had prescription Zofran for motion sickness and nausea before starting a GLP-1.
Okay.
So I'm not surprised that that has followed me this long. But I mean, it was night and day difference. In like the first 4 months of being on it, my inflammation was way down. I was sleeping better. Like I felt better. And then the weight did kind of come off in spring of basically, and this is how I think I'm a very good example of not necessarily the traditional case of GLP-1s where like I'm taking it for my insulin resistance, where like the weight that I gained from my insulin going through the roof. And when I say going through the roof, obviously as a dietitian, you know, we want fasting insulin to be like 6 or lower most of the time. I was at like 32.
Wow.
I was so inflamed, it just hurt to exist. And so we got my fasting insulin down to like 13. And for me, that's fantastic. I'm like, I will take that every day of the week. Like, I feel good on that. Like, I mean, I'm sure I'd feel even better if it was lower, but like a girl can only do so much. So,
Sure.
with just like medicine and going back to my normal routines after having surgery, like I felt so much better. And basically, that 30 pounds that I gained in the beginning of 2022 when my body was doing weird things was completely gone by summer of 2023. And
Wow.
I was like, I feel so much better. And my weight again has just kind of fluctuated between 210 and 220. I went back exactly to where I was maintaining before, but the difference is now because I have additional medical issues like that I can't really control. I can do everything possible to keep them as controlled as possible, but like without my GLP-1, I would not be living in a body that like felt good to live in. But now I'm like,
Sure.
I love life. I've curated a cute closet again. Like I feel good about things. I can travel now. I know we're all supposed to wear compression socks technically when we travel anyway. It's just like
Mhm.
good for us, but like I don't have to anymore. Like I was that like I don't even know how old I was in 2022. I was that 25-year-old that like was religiously putting compression socks on and like I was that person that didn't care how I looked in airports. So I had my biker shorts on with compression socks
Oh,
up to my
gosh.
knees. and like with like little like pool slides. And my mom was like, please tell me you're not in public like that. And I'm like, I am in fact in public like that. So the good news is I've only been recognized in public once, and it just happened like 2 months ago. So like nobody knows who I am, so it doesn't matter. But
Sure.
so yeah, that's kind of my story with it. And I actually was like, I recorded a video when I took my first injection. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to share this, but if this is out in the world, it's because I've decided to share it. Because in 2022, and I mean, even today, I think we're better than we were 3 years ago, but there's so much stigma around these medications. And I
Mhm.
definitely had a lot of fear as a healthcare provider who previously had already been discounted, being like, well, like, why would I listen to a dietitian who is plus size? Or why would I listen to a dietitian that's fat? And I'm like, I just want to be so clear. My education has nothing to do with my body or my size. But thank you, middle aged white man, for pointing that out regularly. Good
Mhm.
news is you're not who I want to work with. And so, as someone who had already experienced a lot of comments in the personal training space and like those nutrition space as a dietitian, I was nervous to share about it at first. But it actually didn't take me long to start sharing about it because as I started taking it, as I got more settled, I was like, you know what? I need to share about this. Like, if I can just help one single person feel less alone in what they're doing, because this
Mhm.
can be a really lonely journey. I have a lot of people that I've worked with that like nobody in their lives know they're on these medications. They are hiding it in the fridge or like their friends don't know. I was like, if I can help one single person feel less alone in this, if I can help one single person feel more confident and comfortable talking to their doctor about this or starting this medication that could change their life, whether they had PCOS or don't have PCOS, like that's worth it. And so that has now spiraled into today, where basically it did not take long for me to change like my specialty either. Cause as a dietitian, I still was doing weight loss, but I definitely was doing a lot more in like the functional medicine space and things
Mhm.
like that, which I still do. But my primary focus now is actually working with people who take a GLP-1 because I'm like, let me help you because I learned a lot myself. But then,
Mhm.
like, being on it, I have that human experience and we don't have to be on things, like, we don't have to try medications as dietitians to be really good at working with that
Sure.
population, but I think in the obesity medicine space, there is a lot to be said for those of us who have experience with obesity and then have experience with these medications to then help other people with them, because there is a layer of things that, like, I wouldn't understand if I hadn't gone through it myself. And so
Definitely.
that's basically how I ended up, as one of, like yeah, I think I was one of the first dietitians on social media talking about GLP-1 medications, being open and honest that I was on GLP-1 medications.
Mhm.
My podcast started myself as a kind of just general health podcast. I had experts from all different topics like functional medicine, personal trainers, like you can go back. I'm about to hit 100 episodes
Wow.
actually. Actually, by the time this is out, I think we will be past 100 episodes, but you can go back to 2023 and there's a bunch of different topics, but then it essentially started shifting over time and now it's pretty much all GLP-1 related.
Mhm.
And so that's kinda how I ended up here, which is then how I ended up here today with you. I ended up writing a book.
And now it's time for our Hero Bread tip of the week. If you want a cold lunch but hot nutrition, I got you this week. So you're going to take the Hero elbows, be sure to cook them first, mix them up with canned tuna, diced celery, red onion, and make a little sauce of Greek yogurt, Dijon, and lemon juice. So mix all that together and chill before serving. This quick prep lunch has over 30 grams of protein for a meal that will definitely keep you full all day, and you can take it with you to work or just prepare it ahead of time for the week. If you want to give Hero Bread a try, including their noodles, breads, croissants, bagels, you can get 10% off your order when you use the code GLP1HUB. That's GLP, the number one hub at hero.co.
The book is here. It's called The GLP-1 Solution. So, yeah, not a random book. It's also GLP-1 specific. It's a 175 plus like strategies, tips, tricks for taking a GLP-1 medication. And I'll be honest, I provided the content. The publishing house did like the good formatting work and copy editing work, but I was approached essentially and they were like, "Hey, we're looking for someone to write a book and this is our thought for it." And basically like the big principle of the book is like each chapter is a tip or a trick. And so it's basically one page for something where if you're struggling with something specific, you can look at the table of contents, find that, flip to it, and get your information right away. So you don't have to read it in order. You actually never have to read the whole thing if you don't want to. Like the end of the book does talk about transitioning off medications. And for those of us taking this medicine for obesity and things like that, like me, like you can take this from my cold dead hands one day. Like I will not be giving this up at any point. Like this is for life for me, but some of us lose access to it insurance wise, or some of us decide to come off of it for whatever reason. So there is a whole part in the book that some people may never honestly need to read because they aren't coming off their meds. But also sometimes we get hit with unexpected insurance
Sure.
changes and things like that. So it can be helpful to have it. But oh my
That's what
gosh,
I
well,
liked
sorry.
about the book is that it's easy to like kind of scan through because you can like say, "Oh, I don't really have constipation," or "I don't really have diarrhea," or "I don't really have whatever you're talking about," and that makes it like really easy for people to just access your information.
Yeah. And I think for me, if you would have told me in like when I was in undergrad and I have my master's, I went to grad school. If you would have told me back then that I was going to write a book, I would have laughed at you because I would have been like, there's no way that this girl right here, who's like, I always have said, like, I'm a science and math person, not an English person. But like to actually be able to take my science, there's a little bit of math in the book too. But if I was actually able to like take my science and take my brain and put it into something, I feel like this format was like challenging, but not at the same time for my brain because I wanted to say more on everything. I wanted to say more, but I had to keep it condensed because it already is with me. It's like 220 some pages.
Yeah.
There's a lot in here. I
Mhm.
call it a condensed version of my brain, but it's essentially, I think I actually got a question recently that was like, is this for healthcare providers or is this for people taking the medicine? And I'm like, that is such a good question. Obviously, you and I are both healthcare providers here. It's primarily like user facing. So like if you are taking a GLP-1, it's meant for you. It's written in a way that everybody should be able
Mhm.
to understand it that picks it up. And that was like, you could talk to my friends while I was writing this. I was basically sworn to secrecy during this whole thing, but of course, I'm not super great at secrets. And so I had a couple friends that knew I was doing this, and I would send them pieces and be like, is this written? Like, does this make sense? Is it too sciencey? Like, I wanted it to be so that everybody could understand
Mhm.
kind of like the why behind it, but then also like how to then implement it. And like that was my goal throughout the whole process. But some moments I was like, I feel like that's maybe a little too confusing. And so I was like, let me go back and rewrite that and like make it a little bit easier to digest and understand. But I think it helps us as people who take the medicine understand why we're making changes if we know, the reasoning behind it, if we understand like how to change it. And so healthcare providers could totally use it, like recommend it to people for sure.
Sure.
But also, I think if people aren't really actually familiar with GLP-1 medications, it's also not a bad idea for them to check it out and read it because if they can see kind of like what is being recommended for people to try if they're struggling with side effects or it covers nutrition, side effects, movement, lifestyle factors, even mindset is in there a good little piece too. So I feel like it's you're gonna find almost everything that you need
Yeah.
in
I
there.
feel like it's like the Bible for GLP-1. So, what do you think, just as a dietitian on GLP-1 who wrote this book, who works with people on GLP-1, what is your biggest concern with people on this medication? Like, what do you see that they are kind of missing?
I think the biggest like high level thing that people are missing is guidance from the start. And so people are given medication and then they kind of flounder for a while and then they seek out additional help when their hair's falling out or they're so tired that like they can't stay awake through their workday or they literally keep throwing up and are like, I have to stop this medicine. Like, I could not tell you how many people I've seen that are like, well, I tried this, but I was really sick for 2 months. And so then I just stopped it. And I'm like, were you doing the same thing every single day that we just went over that you're doing currently? And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I totally understand why we were sick right now.
Right?
And so I think it's just we have, and this comes, I think, down to like the power of referring out and like partnering with dietitians and things like that. But we have the power to create a much better experience for people taking GLP-1 medications if from the start they had support for their nutrition and movement and lifestyle. And so I think a lot of it is the habits that they have currently aren't conducive for GLP-1 medications. And some people can totally get away with it and never have any side effects, never have any issues. But people who eat irregularly and then start a GLP-1, they're going to end up under eating.
Mhm.
And then they're going to be tired and they're going to feel weak and they're not going to feel like they're performing well in their workouts. So I think it's just there's so many things that kind of get missed at the beginning, but like high level, if I were to put it all together, it's that they don't have that comprehensive support when they first start their medicine. And so then when they come to me or you or someone else, like another dietitian that works in this space, or they're then trying to fix whatever they're feeling. And so you have
Mhm.
to work on getting their body back to a good spot before then they can actually start feeling as good as they could feel on the medication. Where if we just partnered together from the start, like we could just start feeling good on the medication and hopefully never end up feeling super sick on these medicines.
Yeah.
And as someone who tries crazy things on myself because I do take the medicine, I had 1 week and I actually made a funny meme about it because I was like, we should make fun of me for this. I'm all for making a joke at my own expense sometimes, but I will never forget it was February of 2023 and I love a good Taco Tuesday. I just do. I love it. I love a good carnitas taco. I love a pork carnitas taco and a margarita. And I literally at like 2 a.m. on Wednesday, every single week for an entire month threw up. And I, after the second time it happened, was like, wait, could I be the problem here? And then I was thinking through it and I'm like, I am totally the problem. I am 100% the problem. I'm having, and like my portion sizes had decreased because we can't
Sure.
eat as much at the same time. So like I was having 2 pork carnitas tacos and 1 margarita, but it was the combination of both for me that like sent me over the edge. And like I threw up every single night for a whole month and went, okay, I can't keep doing that anymore. But if I didn't realize that like that's why I was getting sick and it was like the combination of like this isn't sitting right with me on this medicine, like
Mhm.
if I didn't have the education background I had, I would have been like, okay, got to discontinue this medicine.
Sure.
I can't take it anymore, which to
Sure.
me is I'm like, "Wait, that's bananas." Like, we don't need to do that. We just actually need to, like, change that habit around it, and, I have since learned that actually just most alcohol and I do not get along while taking
Mm.
GLP-1 medication, so I have a very low threshold for that, and some people take their GLP-1 and never have that issue, and I'm like, "Honestly, love that for you."
Yeah.
Not my experience, but we're all so different, and
Yep.
that's, I think, where it comes into of, like, even, like, a handout leaving a doctor's office isn't going to do enough for most people. There's
Mhm.
always exceptions to the rule, though, that's, like, my
Sure.
favorite thing to say, 'cause I know somebody every time we say something, someone's like, "Well, like, that never happened to me," and I'm like, "I love that for you. Thank you."
Right. No, I did a TikTok and I was like, "Why do people say they don't need a dietitian?" And I got like 400 comments. I don't need a dietitian. And I'm like, "Well, good for you, but that's not everyone's situation."
That's not,
So
like, the majority, for sure.
right. So tell us a little bit how you are supporting the people because you do have a membership. So
Yeah.
what is it what are you doing with that?
Yeah, so my membership was kind of created out of the place of I want to be able to help as many people who want help, especially in the GLP-1 space. And I will never be that person or that dietitian that like doesn't know who I'm working with. It's not going to be a membership with like thousands of people like if it ever even built to that. Like I will never have even hundreds of people because I want to know who I'm working with. And so I actually sat for like a whole year trying to figure out what is a way to help more people without adding a bunch of costs to people's like
Bills.
monthly bills because in this economy we're all I think watching our spending, watching where we're going and a lot of us do pay out of pocket for our medicine.
Sure.
And so it's hard when we pay out of pocket for our medicine every month, a couple $100 to then pay another chunk of change for support. And so that's where my membership was born. It's actually called the GLP-1 Circle. And it is basically a way to have a dietitian in your pocket. And so how I've set it up, it literally just launched end of August, beginning of September. So how it's set up is you can join for anywhere from like it's like 99 a month. To be a member of the membership. And basically, we have a live call every month where you can submit questions and the replay will be available. So even if you can't make the call live to come chat about things in person, like you still can get your questions answered. There's also the community where you can ask your questions there. You don't have to wait for the call to ask your question. So it's I I'm having these crazy side effects. I'm so nauseous during the day. Like, what do I do? Like, you can make that post and like we can like talk through it. And
Sure.
I have a strong policy of other people not offering medical advice. So, like, the advice that you're getting is from me. And when you join the membership, you actually fill out all of like your intake paperwork. So, like, when you have a question, I can actually reference like your health history and like your specific stuff. I can ask you questions to get more context. And so, you're getting answers to your specific questions, struggles, or even just like, hey, I'm thinking of changing up my strength training routine. Like, what are you like? What do you think? And I'm
Sure.
like, let's talk through that because again, I also am a certified personal trainer, so part of the membership does include workouts, and there's home options or gym options. You can even have both in there technically if you want, like in your own profile, and it's all through my app. So it's like it's all in one place, so you don't have to, like, go anywhere. The community's in the app, the workouts are in the app, they can connect their tracking to the app if they wanna track their food,
Hmm.
their activity can sync in, sleep can sync in, and so it's a way for people to basically get support and help without a really high price tag coming with it. There's also access to like, discounts on one-on-one sessions and things, so if somebody does wanna have a one-on-one session or add that on, there's a higher tier level of the membership as well. If they want a check-in each month with me, they could add that there too, but essentially, it's my, like, bridge to hopefully, because as I'm sure you get questions all the time too, like, I can't give medical advice on social media. Like,
Sure.
I'm educating, but, like, I'm a dietitian, but I'm not your dietitian. But if you want me to be your dietitian, this is, like, a way for us to work together for you to get that individualized support without having to jump through insurance hoops, without having to dish out hundreds of dollars a month. Like, that is a good option for some people, but it's not a good option for a lot of people either.
Hmm.
It's very specific. And so it's basically my way to kind of bridge that gap and give people that help and support and kind of well-rounded nutrition plus movement plus,
Hmm.
like, if we're struggling with mindset, like, we can definitely talk about that too. Talk about that all the time in, like, my one-on-one coaching, where a lot of what we do is mindset related,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, why are we thinking this way? What led us to this point? And so, yeah, that's kind of how it was born and, like, what it's turning into. It's very small group now, and I don't have, like, a cutoff number for it, but whenever I feel like I'm getting to that point, like, I am the type of person that's like, well, we're at that point. Like, I'm not going to be like, well, I'll just keep pushing it, because that is just
Sure.
not me as a human. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about it. I hope that it can help many people who
Yeah.
need that extra support that don't have it. And so that's, like, one thing I'm really excited about is I have obviously the book. So this
It
is,
comes out tomorrow when this episode airs. So
yes,
this episode is going out the
September
day before.
September 23rd. The book will be in the wild, for everybody. And so the book is coming, like, it's the actual paperback book if anybody else is like me and likes to touch paper. The paperback book is like $17, right? And I think the Kindle version is actually a little bit less than that. It's also on audiobook. So it's exciting to have, like, an option like this. So, like, if you're someone that loves to DIY things or work through it yourself, you absolutely can. But then if you're someone who's like, I would like to have some support and also just community, because as the membership builds, there is community there, and it's
Mhm.
nice to not be alone in things. As we get towards, like, later in the year, there will be some, like, bonus calls in the membership of, like, I did one call with my other group program. We did vision boards in January, and it was so fun. I have a bunch of vision board templates, and we all got on Zoom and did our vision boards together, or, like, our goal boards for the year. And then we all, like, have them set as, like, our phone backgrounds now, and so we can kind of see that throughout the year. But there will be bonus calls and things like that that are, like, holiday specific, New Year specific, but there's, like, a whole range of ways to do it. If you love to DIY, there are some things I love to DIY, and then other things I'm like, don't sign me up for that. Home
So where
project?
can people find out about all of that, all the things you're doing?
Yes, that is a great question. So people can find me on Instagram or TikTok. Instagram is my primary platform, but I'm on both. It's at dietitian.gianna, or my website. You can do giannabeasley.com or dietitiangianna.com. They will both take you to the same place.
Great.
And so that is where you guys can primarily come hang out with me.
Awesome. And pick up Gianna's book tomorrow, the GLP-1 Solution. It is available on all the things,
Yes.
Amazon and Kindle and audiobook. So
Pretty much anywhere you can think of books, it is available. And I would, like, love to hear from you guys if the book helps you. But thank you so much for having me. This was
thank
so fun.
you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful we got to connect, and I appreciate you being here, and good luck with the book launch. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the GLP-1 Hub podcast. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Gianna, and check out her new book, The GLP-1 Solution. You can find it anywhere you find books like Amazon, and it will be out a little bit later this week. You can also find a link in the show notes if you want to grab it there. Also, if you would like to leave a review for the podcast, I would be so grateful. If you send me a screenshot of your review, I will send you a recipe collection of your choice, either breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You can get that totally for free. Normally it's $9.99. And finally, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, NB Pure and Hero, because they make this podcast happen every single week. So thank you so much. And be sure to check out their GLP-1 friendly products. You can also find that information in the show notes. And I will see you next week.